Well, good evening, this is Hound Dog Steve coming to you on April the 10th, and Canada is cracking down on social media for fear of election interference, and that will be the topic for this evening. Well, a very warm welcome to all of you returning to my channel, and a great shout out to any new visitors. Please sit down, make yourself comfy, and let's spend the next 10 minutes talking about cyberspace and cybersecurity. Okay, so we have an election coming up in Canada in October, and the Liberal government is very concerned about foreign interference on social media platforms like Facebook, Google, Twitter, YouTube, and that kind of thing. And so they have tried to talk to these tech giants who run these companies, and they want to be able to censor what is on the internet as far as what they're calling fake news about the elections, different parties, which may sway a voter's decision one way or the other. And I find this all very interesting. Karina Gold is sort of putting on this thing about, oh, it's a really, really scary thing, and you know, the Russians are the really scary people in all of this. And of course, you know, as we see, all parties, every country is fiddling around in everyone's elections. It came out during the Trump election that the CIA has algorithms, and I'm sure that they share with the Five Eyes, which are the 5 countries that cooperate together on Secret Service issues, which would be America, Canada, England, Australia and New Zealand. And they all share all of their information and so on and so forth. So they have these algorithms that will create an attack of some kind on a social media site, maybe bomb them with ads or whatever it is. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. And to try and mislead you and make it look like it's coming from another country. The other thing I find interesting about this, of course I'm going to show you a few articles on this, is that the most propaganda or fake news is actually put out by government itself, politicians and business, and I'm going to give you a few examples of that, but the list is absolutely endless. There's many, many, many more examples of this kind of hoodwinking the public through fake news. And of course one of the most important ones was Iraq. You know, weapons of mass destruction. I mean, that is a sovereign country that was illegally invaded, completely destroyed. Their infrastructure was destroyed, their ancient monuments were destroyed. It is still in disarray 18 years later, and still we have found no weapons of mass destruction, and yet that was the headline on every media, tabloid, newsprint, what have you. Okay, so we're lied to on a regular basis, and where I'm going to with this is that, well, why are we being penalized as the public? You know, why are we being restricted? And of course, because Karina Gold is very concerned about this, you know, she's talking about government actually legislating regulations for these social media platforms. Well, can anyone see, you know, the big thing that's going to take place when that happens? Well, the Liberal government, they're going to call the NDP the far left, and the Conservatives will be the far right. And of course this will be white supremacy and all kinds of left-wing extremism and socialism and so on and so forth, and both will be banned on Facebook, and only the Liberals will have positive media. And of course, conversely, when the other governments, if the other governments get into power, they'll be doing exactly the same thing. So government legislation over this is actually the last thing you want to have, because it's too partisan. And I don't care how honest they say they're going to be, they're not going to be honest. It'll start off fine. I mean, they always do it. It's, oh, we'll be as good as gold, and butter wouldn't melt my mouth, and all this kind of stuff. But, you know, time passes, and people get cozy, and all that kind of stuff, and next thing you know, whilst the cat's away, the mice do play. Okay? The other thing that really irritates me about this is, well, firstly, you know, there was limited. I think they found Russian intervention. Some group had bought, I don't know, it was like $100,000 worth of ads. I mean, when these candidates are spending $1 billion to get elected, trust me, $100 million is nothing to be spending on ads. So I personally, honestly, don't think it's as big an issue as they're making it out. And of course, once you catch on to the propaganda and the styles of doing things, you just have to read them, and you can tell where it's coming from. But I can assure you that it wouldn't be swaying my decision, because I am making my decisions based on the life that I am living. And so no, that kind of propaganda is just an amusement and a mild irritation. And I think it is to most people. And I really am annoyed that you are treating us like little children who can't decide for ourselves. And this is this whole nanny state attitude that we've gotten into, that we are going to be saved from all kinds of evils that the government decides. And of course, now I'm going to use recent examples. Well, okay, before I do that, let's flip over to these articles that I found, and we'll come back and I'll do a quick wrap up. Okie dokie. Here we go. RT, Canada calls for social media crackdown over fears of foreign cyber interference in elections. Facebook, Twitter and Google's perceived inaction has left Canada vulnerable to the very likely possibility of foreign influence on its election, an intelligence agency says. As a result, Ottawa is threatening regulation. Democratic Institutions Minister Karina Gould has spoken to reporters regarding the CSE's warning, saying that the way social media giants are handling the issue has left a lot to be desired. She also noted that the government is mulling over laws that would regulate social media, since the key companies have not been able to self-regulate. And of course, it doesn't mention here that it's virtually impossible, that this is such a difficult filter to put in place. It's just not going to happen, I don't think. She goes on to say, digital platforms are going to have to accept that they're going to have to abide by domestic legislation from country to country around the world, she said, noting that she doesn't feel confident that the three Silicon Valley bigwigs have been disclosing all the information they possess. I'm not feeling great about where we are right now, she added. The CSE report said it is very likely that Canadian voters will encounter foreign cyber interference ahead of and during the 2019 general election. Attacks that aim to sow doubt among voters, causing them to question the legitimacy of the election. Justin Trudeau, you promised us proportional representation, so I think we have a right to question the legitimacy of the election. The elephant in the room apparently was Russia, not named specifically in either the report or the speeches, but accused by the US intelligence and various politicians of interfering in the US elections in 2016 and 2018. Just 2 days ago, Canada's Foreign Minister Christina Freeland said she was very concerned that Russia had also taken steps to disrupt the country's democracy. Euroweekly Spanish study finds most fake news is created by governments, political parties and businesses. Most fake news that finds its way into the Spanish public sphere is created by political parties, governments and corporations, according to a new study. Barcelona's Pompeu Fabra University, the Wainwright Reform Trust and XNet's Fake News and Disinformation Study found the use of bots spiked during elections. The term refers to automated social media accounts designed to spread misinformation. Report coordinator Simona Levy said the fake news situation was much worse than previously thought. None of the false news that changes the political debate is generated by people. They are created by governments, political parties, states and corporations, Levy said. The study analysed bot activity and found it increased by up to 25% during election campaigns. It looked at the election campaigns of Donald Trump in the US, Jair Bolsonaro in Brazil, and the social media activity of Spain's main political parties during votes. The accounts are used to spread misinformation, but also to create debates and talking points that were not previously discussed. That is, either draw attention to an issue or distract from others, the study said. They were also used to boost follower numbers on the accounts of political parties during campaigns. They act simultaneously to create trends that are not organic, the study said. The report also found that algorithms used by social media platforms, including Facebook and Twitter, now this is important, were reinforcing people's existing biases, making them more susceptible to fake news. See, this is why you can't build filters like this. You've just got to let it go. You just got to let it go and trust it's going to be okay, and we're smart enough to figure it out for ourselves. This is Global News, Roy Green, on lining up all kinds of people to write op-eds. According to Wilson-Raybould, Jessica Prince, the former Attorney General's own Chief of Staff, was assured when meeting with the Prime Minister's top advisers, his then Principal Secretary Gerald Butts and Telford, that if Wilson-Raybould were to acquiesce to their requests, which the former AG called veiled threats by various Trudeau operatives, and step back from a choice not to intervene in the decision of federal prosecutors to pursue a criminal trial against SNC-Lavalin, instead supporting a deferred prosecution agreement for the company, it would be possible to line up all kinds of people to write op-eds endorsing such a decision. Line up all kinds of people to write op-eds. Let that sink in. Again, the Chief of Staff to the Prime Minister of Canada, it is alleged, is so confident of predictably cooperative media support that by making a few calls, the collaborative op-ed wagons would be circled. And why would the media write op-eds for the Trudeau government, do you think? Oh, look at this. Trudeau government announces $600 million media bailout. And there they are. It's even worse than many people feared. In the economic update, the Trudeau Liberals have announced a series of measures that add up to $600 million of media bailout. Instead of letting the Canadian people pick and choose which media companies to support freely, the Trudeau Liberals are forcing you to bail out the media that they pick, using your tax dollars to do it. Now, what would you call that, ladies and gentlemen? Circling the wagons. I guess that's what it is. So as you can see, it is government that clearly engages in disinformation, and that's a staggering statement. I'm going to say it for a third time. Katie Telford. We can get all kinds of op-eds written to endorse this decision. Are you kidding me? That is distorting information going out to the public. This is lying to the public. This is fake news, in other words. And it's trying to basically lead you down the garden path that everything is okay, and we are just, frankly, lucky that we have Jody Wilson-Raybould. If she hadn't dug her heels in, if she hadn't recorded Wernick's phone call, if she hadn't refused to go along with the big plan, we would never have heard about this. SNC-Lavalin would have got its deferred prosecution, and all the op-eds would have gone out, and it would all be water under the bridge now, and nobody would be talking about it at all. But it's come out in the open. And as I say, what irritates me is that we are the ones who have to suffer with censorship on Facebook, on YouTube, on Google, on other platforms, because governments, the people we elect, can't control themselves. And they make a muck-up, and then they have to bring in legislation to cover up their muck-up. Okay? Problem, reaction, solution. Plain and simple. And this is how it works, folks. This is how we all get sucked in over and over again. Well, this time it's spilled out into the open. And we, as the public, need to wake up to this. We need to get our politicians, or reorganize ourselves into direct democracy and proportional representation, where every vote counts. Now, I don't think it's going to end corruption. I think corruption is baked into the cake. There will always be people who are trying to benefit from the system one way or another, and who knows, maybe the system requires a little bit of corruption to keep those gears well oiled. I don't know. However, it will make your elected representative responsible to you in a way that we've never had before. As soon as you elect your candidate, that candidate, as we've seen, become responsible to the party, and the public be damned. We shouldn't have to pay for this inquiry. This should come out of the Prime Minister's own pocket, for goodness sake. Why are we being saddled with the cost? Why is the Prime Minister giving away $600 million of our money to the media? These are all questions that we should be asking, and asking our MPs. I don't know how we're going to change this, but we have to have the conversation. And we have to have it on such a scale that the people who are running for office understand that. And we need to get guarantees. We need to get guarantees that we are going to get proportional representation. We have now matured enough as a society where we are adult enough to be able to use this properly and manage this country, its aging population, its infrastructure properly. That needs to be addressed. Okay, well, I hope you've enjoyed this information, and please, if you do, comment, like and subscribe below. And in the meantime, this is Hound Dog Steve signing off, wishing you a grand evening, and we will talk to you real soon. You take care now. See ya. Bye.